back to land of Israel, what it means for us, for the world. But also it starts with Avram Avinu, with the first command to Avram Avinu, Lech Lecha. The rabbis point out that what is Lech Lecha? What is this extra word? It should be go. Go to the land I'm showing you, leave your place. What does it mean, Lech Lecha? Go to yourself. So the Al-Shech HaKadosh, one of the great Jewish scholars at the time in Tzfat, living in Tzfat, to his lectures on Shabbat, his name is Rav Moshe Al-Shich. He's called one of the 5 Jewish rabbi scholars that are called the Kadosh. Like each Am Yisrael give names, so to speak, labels, except the epithet titles to different people: Moshe, Rabbeinu, Avram Avinu, and there's 5 that are known as the Kadosh. One of them is this Al-Shich HaKadosh, the Moshe Al-Shich. Like I said, living in Tzfat, and his lectures on Shabbat, which are written in his book here, the Torah Moshe, the Al-Shich. The Arizal and the Rav Yosef Karo used to come to his sermons on Shabbat to hear. So he writes concerning this Lech. He explains that as if Avram Avinu asks, or someone, a Jew will ask, Ma what's the difference between my presence in the land of Israel or outside the land? What difference does it make? I can be religious outside the land, I can do the mitzvot. What will add or contribute my presence in Eretz Yisrael? It's why I'm the same person I am here or there. So the Alshich says no, that's what God is coming to tell Abraham and the Jewish people for generations, that you're not the same. You are not outside the land what you are inside the land of Israel. He explains a little bit deeper, spiritually, how we all have roots from above. The source, the soul of Am Yisrael is the spiritual roots above. This highly lofty, supernal existence, the divine dimension. And when we come down to this world in the body, we are, so to speak, it leaves the remnant, it leaves the roots, so to speak. It doesn't totally detach. The soul remains in its place, and the other half, so to speak, is revealed in the world, in this world. That's our goal, to reveal in this world holiness and goodness, and to manifest that divine content in this world, like the Taken Olam, to fix this world, to make it connected and linked up to that divine good, to purify, elevate, and rectify all. So he says, but so when we come to this world, we, so to speak, have the roots above and the continuation below. However, the roots below, like it says, there's Yerushalayim above and Yerushalayim below, the supernal Eretz Yisrael. So when you're Eretz Yisrael, you're connected to your roots, you're in line with your roots. However, when you're outside the land of Israel, what is his word? In the land of Israel, you should know that when you're in Chutz La'aretz, eincha davekim shorshecha, you are not connected to your roots. Veincha betzem shel, you're not complete, you're not whole. Ki'im ki'ilu nifrat tzatcha, you're cut off part from part. In other words, you're dissected into different parts. You're disconnected from your roots. Half is above and half is here. You're not aligned and joined. But when you go to Eretz Yisrael, you're going to mitchaber al atzmacha v'shorshecha. You are going to yourself and to your roots. You're reconnecting. And that's what it means, lech lecha. Go to yourself. Lech latzmacha. Go to yourself and reattach to your roots and connect to Hashem, right? The roots of the divine, the shorish, to your roots which are connected to Hashem. Here you're reattaching, realigning, connecting, plugged in to the source above. Outside the land of Israel, you're disconnected. So that's lech lecha. It's go to yourself, to be yourself. Go to the Kuzari.
Kuzari. Yeah.
You have here?
Yeah.
Connected. I think you can bring the Kuzari. No. Not the abridged one. Is that the abridged? I guess that's the...
Yes.
Okay. In section 2, 14, talks about Eretz Yisrael and the significance, centrality. It's a lot. Just one specific line. This thing of it's a long paragraph. It's the part about Avraham Avinu. Avram, our patriarch, who is the essence of Jewish virtue, was removed by God from his homeland. Here, like he brought him to Eretz Yisrael, now you have to be complete. Here you reach your ultimate completion. What he was religious and holy outside, whatever. But no, to reach perfection, it depends on the play, which is actually what he says later here also, the Al-Sheikh. That up till now God spoke to him, but he wasn't seen to him. It says Vayomer, like he spoke to him. Ach lo mitraya, it wasn't seen to him. So God says, go to Eretz Yisrael. And then, but he won't be outside the land of Israel. Lo yitraya elam. I won't be seen by you. You won't get this level of vision of seeing connection to the Hashem, because even though it's the same person, what's the difference if he's holy word? No, ki amakom gorim, the place, the objective place, the locale, is conducive, enables that connection. Again, you're disconnected from the roots. It's not a subjective thing. If you're a good person, whatever. I have an article from the Los Angeles Times. I have to show it to you.
Yeah.
The title is 1980. There's nothing an Orthodox Jew needs that isn't here. We have kashrut, we have Shabbat, we have a mikveh. That picture, a mikveh, So what are we missing? So again, if Judaism is just the individual level, so to speak, of the practice of the commandments, those that you can do outside the land. You can't do most of them outside the land. But you can say today that also in Israel we don't have the temple, we don't have the sacrifice. So if only Judaism is just that, the individual domain, then what am I missing? What's the difference? But if you understand that Torah is to be a kingdom of priests and holy nation, as we've been discussing, which it talks about before the Ten Commandments, we're told to be a holy nation, a nation that lives all of its life, its national, collective, government, politics, commerce, industry, and all that is holy. All that reveals God's name. That's the main, first and foremost, the ideal of the Jewish people, to be a nation. You've chosen us from all the nations. In Yeshayahu 43:21, of course, used to always bring that verse up to you. Amzu yetzarti li tilati sefer. This nation have I created unto me to say my praise. There's an objective vehicle that God's name, this light, this energy that comes to this world, planted in this world, not as individuals. Non-Jews can be very holy, religious, and spiritual, and righteous people, but a nation that was created that, as a national existence, expresses that name. And that's what's lacking. You can't have that, as we'll see. We saw the sources and those that weren't here, but we'll continue. That there's no nation outside the land of Israel. There's individuals, good individuals, rabbis, scholars, but a nation, that's as the verse we say in Mincha and Shabbat, that Ata Achad, V'Shimcha Achad, U'Mikam Chayisel Goy Achad Ba'aretz. You are one, that transcending the source that is one, and your name is one, your ideal, how it's revealed and accepted in this world, the oneness of all the reality in this world. How is that revealed? Through Goy Echad, the nation that is also one. But where are they one, the rabbis say? Ba'aretz. The verse goes on. Goy Echad Ba'aretz. In the land of Israel, they are one. This has halachic ramifications, but that's by definition. In other words, the nation is created that in the land of Israel, we can release this energy, reveal, connected to this divine, like two pieces of metal that conduct electricity. So too, the nation, the land, in the land of Israel, the nation of Israel and the land of Israel brings this divine conductivity, this name of God to the world, this uplifting that uplifts all of creation, not just for our benefit, private. This is how the world connects to Hashem and links all and plugs in, so to speak, to the Taken Olam B'Malchut Shaddai. But nevertheless, so if all you have is individual domain, which was all there was in the exile, the Gemara says in Brachot, page 8, that God only has, that's how the temple is destroyed, then exile, God only has his 4 cubits of halacha. The individual 4 cubits is like the individual domain. Like on Shabbat, you're allowed to carry 4 cubits. That's your private individual domain. So outside the land of Israel, so where's Judaism? Where's God's name revealed and expressed? Holiness, an individual domain. But that's a far cry from the kingdom of priests and holy nation that changes mankind, elevates by being a holy nation, that all of life, not secluded from life, separate and tries to be holy in this private domain, but that includes all, it uplifts all, it connects all to Hashem. But again, 2,000 years of living this private Judaism, an individual Judaism, that's all there was, we begin to think that's all there is. That's Judaism, isn't it? That's the LA Times article, right? There's nothing here in Orthodox Judaism. What are we missing? We forget so much. You stand on your head for 2,000 years, you think that's the normal state. But it wasn't just in Los Angeles. This is, you have a book here, a friend of mine that was killed in Hebron, Me'afar Kumi, Rise from the Dust. This is I'm sure, he has it in the office there. Anyway, Rise from the Dust. He goes through all of the sources at the beginning of history. This is like this. This was the point where it's very difficult. In other words, the challenge that Jewish people were, let's say, weak when it comes to this, which it says also in the book of Dvarim, chapter 1. When it comes to this, you don't believe in God. You're meticulous in all the laws, Shabbat, Kashrut. When it comes to this, Eretz Yisrael, this is a big challenge. And it's not just a new thing and weak people. Some other rabbis, scholars throughout history shows the sources, how throughout from the Jews that didn't want to leave Egypt, right? The plague of darkness. For 3 days, the rabbis say, why? Burying the dead. Why were they burying the dead? Who died? The ones who didn't want to leave Israel. Moshe said the sinner didn't want to leave Egypt. Make us here. We can be religious here in Egypt. No, free. We'd all be slaves. But the Midrash says in Shmot Rabbah, just make us free in Egypt, and we can be religious here. Why do you have to go to Eretz Yisrael? And the next stage was the famous classic example, so to speak, of the sin of the spies. The spies were the giants of the generation. 10 out of 12 said, no, let's stay here. We can be religious in the desert. The opposite, even more religious. Here we see God face to face. Here we see the connection to God. There's no, you don't have to work and do anything. We just have the man comes from heaven, the food. This is in Eretz Yisrael. It's going to be derech hateva, the natural way. We have to work, we have to plant, we have to sow. People start working and doing and thinking they're in control and forget God. Here, there's no way to forget God. Explains this also like that. That here we're able to attain more spirituality and holiness than in Eretz Yisrael. But God wants to manifest His name in this world with a living people, not angels. He has a lot of angels, like we say in Kedusha, in the repetition of the Amidah, Nekadesh et Ashkenazi, Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei moram. We should sanctify His name in this world, like God, like the angels do in the upper realm. They recognize God and they praise God. But our goal is in this world, to change this world, to elevate this world, to connect this world, not to leave this world, to abandon. That's not Judaism. The physical is sin, is evil. Just leave the physical and either escape to some spiritual or nirvana, bichlal. But no, to sanctify all. God is creator of heaven and earth, soul and body. That's the biggest sanctification of God's name. The Midrash says in Tanchuma, God wishes to have a dwelling place in this world, in the lower world. In the upper world, everyone recognizes it's clear. There's no question, so to speak. It's no great chokhmah. The wisdom, the greatness, the oneness of God that it brings good to all, even the lower, the deeper depth, the things to be so separate and far away and even against. There's nothing outside. Everything has to be connected and uplifted. But again, just going back to that article in Los Angeles, what he says here, the same thing, that you get used to living the Judaism of the individual, and then what am I missing? But this whole goal of Judaism is missing, the whole ideal. And that I get, that's repetitious phenomenon, repeating phenomenon, throughout history, as the sources say. But, so he says, lech lecha, go back to yourself, because the place you're in doesn't enable that connection. It's an objective reality. It's not like you can, again, I believe, I like God, I believe in God in New York. It's very good. There were rabbis and scholars, but it's Avram Avinu. But he says, no, hamakom gorem. The place causes that you can't reach it. Also the Gemara. We'll get to that, the sources about prophecy. The Gemara in Moed Katan, page 25. Said a rabbi was great, whatever, worthy of prophecy. So why didn't he get it? Bavel Gamara, because he was in Bavel. Because there's no prophecy outside the land of Israel. That's the vehicle God created. Like I said, 2 pieces of metal conduct. But I have a nice shiny piece of plastic and it wants to... But it doesn't go that way. Not that it can't. God created the world such. There's a certain mechanism, just like metal conducts. Eretz Yisrael, with Am Yisrael, conducts goodness, holiness, uplifting energy for all of the world. So he says, you're in the place that you're your full perfection. Therefore, go to Eretz Yisrael, go back to yourself, cleave to your holy roots. Also, he says that in when we talk in the book of, we mentioned the book of the beginning of Dvarim, where God, so to speak, gives a recap. And now the Jews are about to go to Eretz Yisrael. Like Moshe is about to enter. I remember he doesn't enter, but he's about to tell the people that are supposed to enter the land of Israel. And these are the words, the beginning of Dvarim, right? The book of Dvarim. These are the words which Moshe spoke to the nation on the other side of the Jordan. And now it says he summarizes the Torah. Be'er Moshe Be'er, like Moshe clarified or explained the Torah. So we would think, what would he say? The main tenets of Judaism, of religion, of Shabbat, Shema Yisrael, which comes later. But what is this? Moshe Be'er Torah. What does he say to them? Hashem Elokeinu, God spoke to us to Horeb, saying, Rav lechem shevet b'harazeh. Enough you are sitting in this mountain. Pnu usu lachem. Get up and go to Eretz Yisrael. Again, Pnu usu lachem. It doesn't just say go to the land of Canaan, to the land of Israel. It says Pnu usu lachem. So again, the Al Shech HaKadosh explains the same idea and repeats a bit here in the context of this verse. That you say, the verse is that Rav lachem. Because what does that mean? It's enough that you're sitting in this mountain. What is the mountain? Of Horeb, Sinai, where you got the Torah. So you're sitting in Torah. The Jews said, wow, this is great. So he explains. The Jews said, what will be in the Eretz Yisrael that we don't have in Horeb? Here the Torah was given. More than LA can say, right? The people in here, the Jews can say, look, we got the Torah here. Holy place, let's stay here and be religious. So he says, no, God says to them, Rav lachem. Again, we'll see two explanations what the Al Shech HaKadosh says. Rav lachem is, indeed, it is a big thing. Rav lachem, it is indeed a great thing that you received the Torah here in Sinai. Indeed, receiving the Torah. Aval du lachem, but you should know, even more than that, greater than that is what you'll have in Eretz Yisrael. Because now you're disconnected from your roots. Therefore, get up, rupnu lachem. Go to connect to yourselves, to your roots. Just like explained before, Lech Lecha, he says.
Rabbi, but Moshe also cannot enter the land of Israel. But he's called the greatest rabbi. I mean, why is that so?
Well, many explanations why Moshe didn't come in. But one of if he had come in, it says how it would have caused this energy that we wouldn't have been exiled. And then if the Jews sinned, they would be punished to a point of very death. This way there's the option of punishment of exile. They'll go out and leave their Israel. Or that the fact that the Beit HaMikdash would have come in, it wasn't ready yet. The nation wasn't ready. The world wasn't ready yet. Moshe was ready. He was the greatest. But if he had come, it would have been such a high level that the world wasn't prepared for. He was prevented. But other explanations of why, the sin of the hitting the rock, etc. But there's deeper things of why, like you said, the greatest Ish Elokim, the man of God, how that brought down the Torah to the world. Although the Kuzari explains that Sinai was in Eretz Yisrael, was within the borders of Eretz Yisrael. In the future, the extended borders. But nevertheless, he says how, therefore, the Jewish person should know when he's outside the land of Israel, he's disconnected from his roots. When he comes to the land of Israel, he is now, he connects to his roots, and he is like going to himself and to his roots. I said there's another explanation of the Rav lachem. What does it mean? It's great. It is great for you. So the Al Shech said it's a great thing. Indeed, being at Sinai was a great thing. You received the Torah, but there's even more than that. The fulfillment of Torah is to live it and be a nation Eretz Yisrael. The Kli Yakar, one of the classic commentaries on the Torah, on that verse, says even stronger words. He says this is the first critique of the Jewish people before the sin of the spies. Right, we're in the desert now, receiving. Before the sin of the spies, it caused the 40 years to be going in the desert. But before that, he says already, Rav lachem, he's criticizing, chastising the nation, that there are people that wanted to stay in this mountain, a permanent yeshiva shel keva, permanent settlement. To stay here and be religious, what's wrong? And they didn't turn their faces towards the place that is special for the fulfillment of mitzvah, Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, he says to them, "Kolomar hama'atu mared amala." It's a, how do you say, rhetorical question. You think it's a small thing, what you've done to this merit, this sin, this revolution against God of not going to Eretz Yisrael? Ki ravhu. It is indeed a great sin. Rav here, not that the Al-Sheikh explained that indeed it's a big thing being in Sinai, receiving the Torah. Indeed, it's a great thing. Rav lachem, it's big. But there's even bigger, the fulfillment of that. The Kli Yakar says, no, it's a negative statement. It's a big sin that you're doing, that wanting to stay here. Rav lachem, that you wish to stay here, B'shevet Yeshiva shall keep permanent settlement in this mountain. Therefore, get up, the opposite. Pnu usu, go again, just like here, the continuation is like the Al-Sheikh. Pnu usu lachem, atzmut makor shelachem. Go back and return to your roots, to your holy connection to above in Eretz Yisrael. Now, the conclusion is the same. Pnu usu lachem means to go back to reconnect to yourself, to the divine. But the Rav lachem, what does it mean, the Rav lachem? It is great. It is great indeed what you have here, but there's more in Eretz Yisrael. Or great is the sin that you wish to stay here. And he goes on, the Kli Yakar. Indeed, Har Chorev is the place you learn Torah. But now go to the place, Makom Shmirat Torah, for the fulfillment. Because the goal of Torah is not the learning, it's, so to speak, the abstract, but the fulfillment, the practice, like I said before. In Sinai, you receive the principles, but now in order to live it and manifest it as a holy nation in the land. So, just wanted to share that with you on the Parshat HaShavua of the Lech Lecha, to go into yourself. Oh, there's more if you want.
Yeah.
What I was planning to teach. What? You have any questions on that, or you're new here? You haven't seen all the sources we did up till now.
No, it's good.
What?
I don't have any questions.
No, throughout the year we've been discussing what we're trying to do is to study and to train to see the hand of God in history, in reality, in the world. What Emunah is not just faith in God. I believe there's a God somewhere, and I'll do what He says. But the connection, the seeing, the of how He is in the world, and ultimately, like the Rabbi, they said the verse in Chronicles, Divrei Yamim, Dat Elokei Avicha v'Avdehu. Know God and serve Him. God doesn't just want robots. The knowledge of God, which is in Yeshayahu chapter 11 about the Mashiach, the Messianic era, the knowledge of God will fill the earth and fill the world. It's this connection and then the grandeur, the greatness of realizing what we're connected to, how great, and therefore to change our lives and live according to that greatness, to be holy and righteous and moral and ethical people, all of mankind. It's a whole new world, like it says in Yeshayahu chapter 2, that you'll beat your swords into plowshares. Where's that written? Beside Yeshayahu. Put your swords into plowshares on the walls of the United Nations, right? In the UN, it says you'll beat your swords. I took that verse from Yeshayahu. So it's very easy to write the words on the walls, but to write it on the hearts of man, that we live that way, that man changes his orientation of goodness, of helping. He just wants to give and use all of his intellect, not to make bombs or weapons of mass destruction or virus, whatever. How to help, how to be good. But man is like, that's his natural, normal state of goodness. That change is not a simple thing. The philosophy writes a book, a philosopher, moral, whatever, book of ethics. But to live that, to change man, that's what he wants, that's what he really desires, the true inner essence of man, of the image of God that's in man. But the awareness, the connection to God and the recognition that we to live that godliness, that goodness, that holiness, that is by a holy nation that lives this in a proper way, in its full national existence. And that radiates in different ways how we affect. There's a metaphysical influence, there's also it's not just frontal, we give lectures about holiness and morality, but a living nation that succeeds in its economy and everything in the physical world that the outside world appreciates. And all that is good and moral and holy. And this living example will be, then, what it says also in that verse before the beating your swords into plowshares, how? From Zion Gorat Torah, what you said this morning, right, before we take out the Torah. From Zion Gorat Torah, the word of God from Yerushalayim. From here will emanate that truth, that understanding, but not just intellectual, but the change in man, until it reaches the point that you'll beat your swords into plowshares. In Yeshayahu chapter 11, I mentioned, not only man, the lamb will live with the garzevim keves, the lamb with the wolf, etc. The change of nature. So there will know everything will be so connected, so unified, so we're all one source, connected to that source, to emulate, so to speak, to that goodness in this world, that's a revolution in mankind, in the human culture. And that's where we're headed. But that's not done by one person. That the holy person writes book of. There are also philosophers that write books of morality and ethics. But a living reality that, again, not just teaches, but lives and radiates this energy from Zayin Ulator, literally. And the nations will come up from the mountain of God, what it says in Yeshayahu chapter 2. But, so that's what we studied during the year. The significance of our times, what's taking place now. The Jews are coming back to land. So what? So we have a nation. No, politics. That's Judaism. We want. How is that connected to God's name in the world, etc.? So that's what we study through the sources of this training, again, to ultimately not just Zionism, so to speak, to see God in the world. What is he doing in history? Where is the world going? How is he bringing the world to that ultimate goal? What's taking place today? And now we're in the midst of this amazing process of the fulfillment of those prophecies that are approaching the completion of the perfection of the world, of connecting all to that divine. And we, therefore, even more entrusted or living in this generation, and therefore we have the shlichut, the mission to be aware of what's taking place and to help facilitate the process, to participate. If you're not aware, you know what's going on. As we pointed out, one point that we mentioned, I'll repeat, that the redemption comes, the natural redemption comes in stages. It's a natural developmental process. It's not all complete and holy and perfect from the beginning, which can be therefore very disappointing. People are expecting redemption everything is holy, perfect, good, the temple. And here we see the state of Israel is not exactly everything is perfect, to put it mildly. So if you expect the all or nothing, the miraculous, God will come down and the miracles and etc., the all are complete right away. So today it's not all complete, therefore it's either all or nothing. This isn't what I waited for, this isn't what we expected, this isn't what I wanted. But if you understand that it comes in stages, there's infancy, there's childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and those stages have problems. Adolescence, it's not just from childhood to adulthood. There's stages, there's phases of identity crisis. So too at the national level, even more, the complexity of this process of returning the nation back to the land, to be this kingdom of priests and holy nation. So we talked about the stages in Yechezkel 36, 37, the dry bones prophecy. That's the first stage, is the physical stage, the physical return of the Jews back to the land. But it seems to be just physical, material, a nation, politics, government, air force, very nice, but the land giving its fruits. That fulfills prophecies of what will be the redemption. But wait a minute, what about the spirit? So we saw that in Yechezkel 37, when the bones come back, they become a skeleton, they come back together, then become skin, sinews, and ligaments, and then skin. The ruach ein behem. The prophecy stops. They were told, and Yechezkel was told from God, the nation will rise up to life again. And here it stops. He prophesies, the bones come together, but it becomes a corpse. The ruach ein, there's no spirit. Where's the spirituality? Where's the holiness? This is redemption. It seems to be so secular, so just body, physical. That's stage one. And then comes the second, the booster, so to speak, prophecy. Now, the spirit of life will come in and be revealed in that body. Not to go against the body, to reveal the inner essence of that body. What is the soul? What is the purpose? What is the goal? What is really there? That body isn't just a body, it has a soul. But the first stage is like all of us. We're going back to the beginning. Last 2 weeks ago, you read the beginning of Breshit, when man was created from the dust of the earth. And then, then he blew into him the spirit of life. So to all of us, like I said, the physical motor development, and then bar mitzvah, we get to a certain stage. Now we fulfill the mitzvot more, and the spiritual, the intellectual development. But that's how it works in this world. And the neshama comes down, is pushing the process behind the scenes, so to speak, but developing the body, the conduit that enables its expression in this world. To express the neshama, you need a body in this world. The neshamot exist, past, present, future, they're already here. But to reveal in this world, to reveal their good and their blessing in this world, they need a body. We don't see neshamot. They don't have an effect in this world. They come down to this world in a body to express. The body is used to be the vehicle that brings and expresses, like I said before, the individual and the national and the universal of the divine goal in this world. So from the beginning, the neshama comes down, but first it has to prepare that vessel. So people are disappointed. What do you mean, the baby? They told me my son will be a rabbi, a prophet, and now I brought him the books in front of him, and he starts ripping up the pages. Where's this great rabbi? It comes in stages. It's not all at once. It's not all perfect right away. First, the physical motor development, and that's needed. That's necessary. And especially now, what we're turning to is a super energy. We're turning to prophecy. We're turning to levels of energy that are not going back to what it was, a religious Jewish life, and like it was in Poland or whatever. Now we're turning to a high level, the future level of returning to prophecy, like it says in Yoel, the Spirit of God upon all of us, this energy, that requires, for super energy, that requires a super vessel to receive it. Small people will be overdosed. You have this energy with light, too much wattage, it just explode. God is now returning us to a level that wasn't before. In other words, to the highest, the third final temple is the return to this super energizing, so to speak, and that requires a super body to receive it. So at the beginning, stage one is a super body, and you say, wow, this is no good. It's all these people are focusing on building physical material. So yes, the first stage requires people that are devoted and dedicated. Their orientation, their inner soul pushes them towards building the physical. Because if they were half, no, they're like, how do you say, posel? They're like looking half from the spiritual, half from the, I don't want to work too hard or build too much because I want to know the spiritual is what's important. So they would build a half-baked body. And no, but it has to be people that are totally immersed in building a body. And later comes those that come to, the rabbis talk about the prophet and the rabbis in the Gemara and Chulin and Yirmiyah. Oh, there's the physical people and the spiritual people. There are those that have both, that are giants that can do the physical and the spiritual. And it doesn't, how do you say, detract from either one. But the majority are like people that they can focus on one thing, and that has to be that the builders have to build a super building, and the spiritual will build a super spiritual, each one thinking that only this is what's important, he thinks only this is what's important. And then Rav Kook writes in Orot, chapter 19, that big, complete buildings can unify and then bring about the full kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Holy nation, a nation built with all of national trappings and endeavors, like I said before, commerce, industry, and all that is holy. So the first stage is building the nation, an army, and then a holy army, economy, and a holy economy. So that's the stages that we talked about, that we will continue learning about and recognizing it to understand how to judge properly. Because if you don't understand, you'll misunderstand, also misguide. If you think this is a child that's mischievous, doing his muscles, not for I wanted him to be a prophet or rabbi, and he's playing ball, I'll cut off his arms and legs. No, the goal isn't to get rid of his arms and legs and energies, but to redirect them to what they're meant for. So the first stage, he's building up those muscles. Yes, that's good. But he's using them for bad things, he's breaking things. So again, you have to redirect, but not to destroy. So you have to know what's going place. What is Hashem doing in this generation? What is taking place? What is beneath the surface? If you see this, the moment is incomplete, imperfect, no question. No, we don't see this as the end of redemption. But the beginning, understanding well into the middle, maybe we're beyond the beginning of what is taking place here, what the turning of what God had this bigger plan, and seeing how the pieces are falling into place. And then if you properly guide, you can judge them properly and guide them properly to know what is ready and waiting to come out. But if you just see the moment, the surface, what is presently revealed, this is bad. Rabbis say that you, like the fruit, the klipa kodemet lepri. What's the klipa? What is
The shell.
The shell precedes the fruit. The shell is bitter. Sato, cut off this thing. Who wants this bitter thing? No, but there's a fruit inside. And there's a reason why the shell comes first. Or the rabbis give even more. One of the keys to understanding this redemption process. The generation of the Mashiach, different generation. The time of the Mashiach, it says, is good on the inside and evil on the outside. A negative behavior. What is this? You have to understand why. If it's so good inside, why doesn't it behave properly? But nevertheless, there's an energy that's so good that can't take like a rebellious child, that he wants more than he's receiving. So the goal isn't to get rid of him, destroy him. There's good inside. Just redirect it, expose it, reveal it. You have to recognize it and help bring it out. But if you're not aware of what's inside, you're just looking at the exterior, we're forewarned that the exterior is not exactly what I wanted to do today. The exterior is frightening, is against all that was sacred to us for 2,000 years, rebellious, anti-religious. What's going on here? So that's the vision, what it says in the Gemara in Masechet Tamid, page 32, Lamed Bet. Ezu Chacham, who is the wise? Harawet Nolad, he that sees that which is being born, that which is developing, not just the moment, the external. He sees what is developing, like Rabbi Akiva, right? When he sees the end of the Gemara Makot, that sees the destruction of the temple, the jackals coming out of the Holy of Holies, so defiled, so defamated, and he's laughing. He sees the destruction. The other rabbis are crying. They see what's going on. How can you laugh? Look, don't you see what's going on? He sees what's going on, but he sees the nolad, what is coming out of this, the destruction, the depth of this destruction is an indication of how the beginning, the next preparation for the third and final temple. In other words, to see beyond them, that's what we try to teach here. And that's emunah, that's the knowledge of God, the awareness of God. To see his hand and to work with him, the rabbis say, to work with God in this process. And that's our obligation and privilege, and what we try to do here with Hashem. So,
Is it okay?
the stop button.
가능할까요?